Verbally Effective with Ina Esco is an interview-style podcast that intersects art, culture, politics, and entertainment with a Memphis focus. Each week, I'm joined by a featured guest with roots in Memphis. Verbally Effective delves into each guest's personal journey to uncover the incredible stories fueling their purpose, the highs and lows of their pursuits, and how through their passion, they are moving the culture forward. Be sure to follow Verbally Effective and Ina Esco on Instagram. Also, download the Verbally Effective podcast on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Google Play Music. Don't forget to check out the website and submit to be a guest at verballyeffective.com. Greetings, and welcome to another edition of the Verbally Effective Podcast. I am your host, your double E, Ina Esco, and you know this podcast is brought to you by We Are Memphis. It is the podcast that intersects art, culture, politics, entertainment with a Memphis flair. That's right. And you know what, guys? I need you all to subscribe to the podcast if you're not already subscribed on all streaming platforms and the Ina Esco YouTube channel as well. Now, check it out, ladies and gentlemen. You know what? Wait, before I get right into it, I want to shout out Spotlight Productions for providing this beautiful space that we are recording in. And also a big shout out to my producer, Ari the Genius. So let's jump right in because I have a Verbally Effective alum on the podcast. I'm talking about comm strategist, education advocate, and former TV anchor, Jerica Phillips. What's up, beautiful?
Hey.
What's going on, Sora? You know.
What's up?
Yes, you know, we haven't talked in about 3 years since the podcast. So I know so much has changed in your life. So I feel like we're going to kick it off, jumping right into what these people really want to know about. Okay. So, you know, this is the first time I feel that, you know, your name has ever been put into any kind of gossip, you know, and as a media professional, you know, we want to know your take on it, how you've responded to this. So what I really want to know is what was your immediate reaction to all of the gossip that's going on right now in the city?
Absolutely. Well, first I want to say, Ina, I really respect and admire your platform. And so coming today to talk to you, it's like, you know, friendship, soror, sisterhood, and we can just talk about anything.
Yes, and when you hit me up and you told me that, you know, you want to give an update on the Verbally Effective podcast, I was like, wow, you know, like my soror is coming back.
If I was to talk to anybody, it's you.
Look, I really wanted you to come and talk because these people are peopling right now.
Yes. But I will say, I think the most hurtful thing is you can build a reputation, right, and do good and be the good for so long. And, you know, I talk to people about, you know, you build that for 30 years or more, and in 30 seconds, you know, someone can try to destroy your reputation. But certainly it was hurtful to see that people believed, you know, things that had not been proven, and to see so much of the gossip, and really just to see, you know, the type of people who were entertaining, you know, the
that you didn't expect.
Yeah, I was like, wow, you know, but it taught me a lot about the price of popularity. You know, it teaches you that you have to be ready once you get to a certain level of engagement in the community and influence. People can say your name, you know, it comes with a little bit of clout, and that's okay. You know, you have to be ready to deal with that. And so I put my integrity hat on, right? You know, I thought about the fact that if people cannot attack your intelligence and they can't really, you know, find something to come after you about, then gossip and entertainment is the easiest thing.
Yes.
So, you know, it was hurtful to see some of the things that were being said, especially so many of the lies, right? You know, even people mentioning my children and, you know, just posting my ex. It was real hurtful to see. Deplorable.
Yes. So who was the first person you called when it really hit the fan?
Well, actually, I did not know about that particular platform. I knew of the host or the blogger, but I didn't know that there was this platform that people were like, you know, engaging on like that. I was like,
heavily
wow.
engaging on.
And again, very surprised, like, wow, this is what people do. Because when you have a life and you worry about your own business, you ain't in nobody else's mess, right? And so that was the part that was like, wow, people are really indulging in other mess, right? But it was a lot of screenshots that people were sending me because I didn't know about the page. And so, of course, my sister is my rock. She was like, hey, I'm finna go on here. I'm finna say this. I said, ma'am, stand down. Let's take a look and let's step back, whether or not this is something that we even want to address, right? But, so many people were saying things that were untrue, that she felt that she needed to at least get on there and share some sensibility around, hey, let's be logical, folks. She went on there and she said, look, a lot of the things that are being said have been said for the last 3 years that she's been at the district, right? And that's one of the things I was sharing with you. When I got the position over at the district, there were rumors and gossip swirling. How did she get that job?
Right. A lot of people were questioning your credibility.
My credibility.
To even get the role.
And honey, as I started thinking about, do people like me? What are people saying? My former boss taught me so much about leadership. He was like, you one step away or one decision away from somebody not liking you. It's not about whether they like you. It's about whether you like them. Okay. You're in a position to hire and fire. He said, don't worry about what folks think. And I really grasped that and started doing the work, right? I was like, I'm not going to worry about if someone thinks that, I got this position based on this or that. I know I'm qualified and I know my skills. So I started doing the work, and I believe, gained the respect of so many of my peers, my colleagues. We have been recognized all across the country when the Department of Education calls and says, hey, you know what, y'all's communications templates and toolkits during the pandemic, we're using those all over the country. Right. We were receiving awards, and not that I needed that validation, but I knew it, right? I knew that I was able to do the work, and I had always been competent, but it does hurt when people question your skills. And I think women, especially when we get in leadership roles, people, especially when you work for a man, people are going to question whether or not there has to be some copulation involved, some sex involved for you to reach a certain level. So as women, I go back to what we talked about on our first show. I wish we would, stand together more rather than rip each other down and be so quick to criticize and gossip. But unfortunately, I did have to deal with that the entire 3 years that I was there.
The entire three?
I heard it so much, and people were like, that's not new. People would come, newer people would say, I heard this. I'm like, yep, been hearing that, and again, still doing my job throughout that time. But when I got ready to leave and took that position at an organization that I'm just so, excited to be a part of, and the mission and the purpose, that was hurtful too, to hear. Just because I was taking another job, people were like, oh yeah, it was because of an affair or a fight. Something had to have happened for her to be leaving. No, I just took another job because it was good for my family. Why you just
couldn't took another job?
So right. That was man, I prayed. I had already been praying to God about taking the position. And, I felt like I did what I needed to do based on my family and my priorities and balance and what I needed to do. And so when I took the position and I trusted God, I was kind of questioning him. I was like, why would you let all this mess happen and all these rumors and gossip happen when you know that I took this position and was already nervous, right, about it. Yeah. So that was, again, I had to come out of myself and definitely lean more into my faith and understand that God has a purpose for all things.
Definitely. It's just a little storm you're going through now, just preparing you for something even better, right?
Absolutely.
And now you have that wonderful job. But I'm glad you mentioned women, right?
Yeah.
Right? Because when the allegations of an extramarital affair began circulating, did you find that women were some of your biggest supporters or fire stokers?
I actually will say that, even though I do push women to do more to support each other, I will say that sisterhood has meant everything to me, starting with my own biological sister. I have one older sister, and she was just at my side checking on me. Hey, you need to get out the house. You good? I was like, I'm not depressed. I'm good. People, it went on so long. At first people were like, oh, that's just a mess he's saying, it'd be over. It kept going and going and going. I was like, whoa, it was frustrating because if I go in the barbershop and take my son to get a haircut, I could feel the tension of folks,
Yeah, really, like wherever you go.
Anywhere I go. And I felt like everybody was talking about that. And they may not have been, but it was just such an attack on my character that I was, just heard about that. But my sister checked on me constantly, and I was like, I'm good, sis, But that night, I was actually being inducted into the Lynx. The night of my induction is when that post went up, and everybody started, flagging it for me. And they could have retreated. Some other folks could have said, hey, we don't want to be a part. We don't want that a part of our organization. But I actually started receiving texts from so many of those women. And again, just proud moment for me to be a part of a sisterhood and a service organization like the Links. They started texting me, I started getting, because they OGs, so they mailing, cards, with little encouragement notes in there. And it became such an opportunity for me to connect with other women who supported me. And said, hey, I've been there. Other women in leadership or in public service positions. I had one who reached out and said, I've been there. I've been in a situation where someone has accused me of this or that publicly. Stay strong, And so that was so helpful to me. And then, of course, my sorority sisters were in a group me. They was like, what we need to do, sis?
Okay,
you want us to take over the page? You finna put pink and green hearts? We finna do this, we finna do that. I was like, no, don't put pink and green hearts in the comments, number one, because y'all are only raising the engagement on the page, right? So yeah, they were ready to do whatever, like the Beehive coming to the rescue. And I was like, y'all, thank you so much, but we're going to stand down. I talked to an attorney. He said, look, that's gossip. You go and you file a lawsuit. And because they even said I was filing a lawsuit, they were like, oh yeah, she's suing this. And I was like, where are these things coming from? But my attorney was like, number one, this is gossip and rumor. You're above that, right? You file a lawsuit, that then becomes a story. Right. You then become
public record.
Now that's a Google, right? Now people can go and they'll see that you filed a lawsuit based on gossip. So he was like, stand down, let's watch where this goes. Your name has not been mentioned in anything. And of course, it was all based on divorce documents. And again, my name wasn't involved in any of that. So I trusted my attorney. I said, okay, because I was ready to fight defamation, slander.
Let's go.
I said, you can't do that. That's not okay. And even if he moved on to somebody else, I didn't want that to be okay for someone to constantly be attacked. Now that I know, I'm the type of person who wants to take action. I'm like, we can't allow this. But, a lot of people just came to me, shared some wisdom, talked to me, told me to stand down. And it was really helpful for me to gather myself rather than react out of emotion.
Yes, indeed. Wow. Now, what has been the greatest challenges right now with prioritizing, your role as a single mother now? Yeah.
And I want to definitely hit on the fact that my ex was named and all of that. And I couldn't defend myself, but I actually wanted to defend him at that time because I know he struggles with some mental health issues and substance abuse issues. And that's been for the last several years. And that for them to put and conflate a total separate situation and then put his name and create, lies about fights and all of that, I could only imagine then that stirring up the issues that he already was facing, right? And so the anxiety and the depression that he deals with, I had to call and talk him down as well. Like, don't feel like you need to react to that foolishness, right? And so, I am a huge advocate for mental health awareness and people getting the help that they need because there's a stigma associated with substance abuse and mental health. And so, I won't go into his story too much, but of course, public documents have been shared and people now see, that I went through a very public and troubling time, getting out of that relationship. But certainly I want women to do what they need to do for their children and their families. My mom was one of those who was like, look, I know you love somebody, you love this man, but do what's best for your children, right? And so I did. And I want him to eventually be able to tell his story. I want him to have a story of triumph, right? Yes. And restoration. So I'm looking forward to that. We may never, connect again, but I want him to be in his children's life. I want him to, have a story that tells a testimony that God can deliver you from anything, right? Yes. And so that was one of the things coming out of that situation and already, struggling with a very demanding job and being a mom, of 4 children. It was difficult, the balance of all of that, just going to work every day, putting a smile on your face. And I did that so long at WMC, at the TV station, going on camera. People don't really know what you're going through. But you're still holding yourself.
You got to put that face
you
on.
Hold your head, adjust the crown. And so, again, I hate that people conflated that. Let me just say this publicly. Everything that was shared was a lie. And that was the part where sometimes in gossip a little bit be true. But I'm like, all of y'all created fights. Y'all created an affair.
Baby, they said in front of the school board, they had details.
I said, where's the video?
Where's the video?
And that's where I was like, I wish that people would just think right through. And that's what my attorney also said. You know what the defense is going to be if you file a lawsuit based on defamation? The defense is going to be that this is all entertainment, right? This is social media. He can always say whatever he wants to say and say, oh, I was just entertaining, my fans. But I'm like, no, this is real life to me. And for you to come up with this many lies, and people really were, and because it was my name, I think it gave it a little bit more oomph.
Oh,
like,
definitely.
not Jerica Phillips.
Jerica Phillips, Memphis trending, honey. And like, what facts are you producing? There was no production.
Not a fact, not one. I was waiting on people to like ask for those things, but people just jumped in. I mean, comments was like, yeah, and I know this and I know what, so I think everyone should prepare themselves for when someone attacks you with lies, right? And that doesn't have to be a public figure. It doesn't have to be someone who is well known. You can be lied on in any situation, right? And how do you respond? And one thing that really stuck with me throughout that time, there's a scripture that talks about don't repay evil with evil. Bless people who curse you. And I started praying for the folks who were saying negative things. Like, Lord, there must be some misery in their hearts, for them to want to see, my name destroyed. I even had someone with an anonymous page come to me and say, yeah, your career is over. Somebody just sent me that in a DM. And I'm like, yeah, you think so, right? But God got my back.
They haven't stopped anything because we are flourishing over here.
Yes. And so I love it. I think that this is a test that really has strengthened my faith, and I've always been a woman of faith. I credit my parents for giving me a strong foundation, because some people, they go down after something like this. It's very difficult for people to get out of themselves and out of their heads when this kind of thing is going on and people are saying such demeaning things about you. But for me, I just leaned on God and, made sure that I was staying in scripture and talking to my children. My oldest daughter, she understood what was going on.
How's she doing?
People were screenshotting her, but no, she's good. She is my biggest advocate. My day one, she's in college.
Yes, she is.
She's a sophomore, HBCU
all
student.
grown now, huh?
Honey, I told you she got tattoos.
Come on, tattoos.
I'm trying to be the cool parent, but also she go back and forth. She be like, you be cool, then you be strict.
Right.
Because I don't play.
Yeah, because, once they hit that, she's in college now. So she's how old now?
She's 19.
19.
Yes.
You really can't tell them nothing.
Right.
Either they going to listen or they not.
Yep.
And they got to bump their head and figure things out.
And she at least calls me before she's gotten a couple of tattoos now. And I'm like, you just, it's 1 year in college and you already got multiple tattoos.
She was ready.
She couldn't wait. But she called me and we talked and I said, make sure they're meaningful, right? Make sure you're putting them in places where, when you get ready for a career, you're not going to regret, some of those decisions. So thankfully she does lean on me. She trusts my guidance, and I can appreciate that, right? Yeah. Her closeness with me and her trust means everything. But I'm trying not to hover and be that parent who's trying to,
they got to figure it out. They definitely got to figure it out.
I'm an advisor now. I'm not an overseer.
At least she still calls you for advice, right?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So she trusts you. She trusts you. But Jerica, I'm so proud of you for wanting to come on and tell your story and, really talk to the people, because I know they've been wondering what's been going on with you. So I really applaud you for that and having such, a spiritual foundation that has helped you along the way. And like I said, these haters ain't stopped nothing.
It ain't new.
Right. Now, we spoke about your oldest daughter. Let's talk about Jewel. How is she doing?
And of course, I always leave out the two middle ones, and I don't want to do that.
We don't want to leave the two middle ones out.
Jewel is the boss. Everybody know Jewel is the boss of the house. But I have one son and a middle daughter, and so they are in middle school. Both of those
both
two.
of them are
both
in
middle school now.
Is in middle school.
Yes,
too? I remember.
Yes,
wow,
yellow baby.
Yes,
he looks like my sister. It's so funny. But the two are in middle school, and they are doing. And I'm still a parent advocate for the district, right? I'm forever an advocate for education because it gave me a way out of a situation where I could have been a statistic. And so I'm gonna always respect the leadership of my former boss and respect what our educators are doing, across this city, working every day amid so much controversy and criticism from the public. They blame teachers and educators for everything. So let me just say that definitely always a supporter of the school system here. But the two middle ones are in middle school now, so they are just finding themselves. They do not get along.
And middle school is a very impressionable time for a child.
You're trying to figure it out.
You're shaping things right there.
But they're too smart, kids, and again, no complaints. They go at it, because they're the closest in age, but then there's a huge gap between that oldest and the youngest. So of course, people know my story with Jewel, and she's in kindergarten now.
Come on, kindergarten.
She is in kindergarten, so child, I drop her off every day. I had to school her teacher because her teacher's too sweet. Kindergarten teachers are just so sweet and loving. I'd be like, ma'am, you don't be firm with this girl. I'm dropping her off, and Jewel is refusing to get out of her seat to get out.
Come on, Jewel.
And the teacher be, oh, come, Jewel. I'd be like, ma'am, if you don't be firm, because she understands. Jewel know what she doing. And so I making sure that people don't give her a pass, right? I want them to be firm with her. I want the expectations to be high, and make sure she do what she's supposed to do, because she's stubborn. She's stubborn. She's a mean one, child.
Where'd she get that from, Jerica?
I don't know. I don't know, but that girl there, I be like, and my mom, she's on her. She like, I'm not gonna let her get away with that. And so my mom stays on her, but
not your daddy though, huh?
No, everybody, but everybody spoils her, and that's where I said I don't want people to give her a pass for behavioral issues or anything like that, because she actually scored out of special needs. When they called me and told me that, I was like, listen, I already knew she was on a higher spectrum just with her cognitive skills. But sometimes children who are born with special needs, they have a slighter genius in other areas. You've seen like people who are blind who obviously can hear well and play piano by ear and all those things. But with her developmental delays, she's so keen on some other things. We're driving around, and I remember her seeing her siblings' school, and they had just started in middle school at this particular location, and she knew we were coming from somewhere else, and she passed. She said, "There go that school." I'm like, "How would you know that?" Yeah. Her directions and her cardinal just knowing where we are all the time. I'm so impressed with that. Yes. But she is just a shining star, an example of how when we focus on abilities and we take limits off of children and people with exceptional needs, they thrive and they flourish. And so we're excited. We're getting ready again for October. I think we talked 3 years ago, right before the Down Syndrome Walk, and I'm now a board member.
Come on, board member.
And I was hesitant to be in a leadership role, but because of my influence and my platform, I certainly want to always use my gifts that God has given me to give to others. And so just trying to make sure that I'm spreading awareness, fundraising for the organization, because they do so many great things in the community, including tutoring our babies, reading programs, making sure that they have equitable opportunities for jobs. People don't think that these folks can get out and have a job and live and do the things that they're doing. So this organization, the Down Syndrome Association of Memphis and the Mid-South, has been a godsend for me. The executive director, Martine Hobson, she was just recognized as a Mid-South hero on one of the local stations. Amazing. Because she goes above and beyond to make sure families are supplied with the resources that they need to be advocates for their children. And so Jewel has been that for me and the community, and so she's thriving, honey.
Come on, Jewel, let's thrive now. Yes. Jerica, I know that you are somewhat of a PR guru at this time. A lot of times, media personalities, they transition into PR roles. Yeah. And so, the organization that you are with now, you are thriving. It's new to you. Tell me about, your time there now, and this whole, we kind of talked about this before we started, the reputation brand management field right now. Absolutely. And it's big. It's crazy because I was going into a role of reputation management, and my reputation was being attacked. Okay.
So I definitely went in and talked to my new boss about it, and she understood, the culture here. She's newer to the city, but she also understood that, people will do anything to get a click and a like these days. And so she understood also that they were recruiting me to a point where they were ready for me to come back in the spring. And I said, being in the leadership role that I'm in, let me stay into the end of the school year. So I wasn't running from anything, right. I wasn't concerned, and they knew that as well. So thankfully I have a great team of folks over at my new job, and I just feel like I'm in a master class every single day.
Come on, master
I
class.
work for an organization with an iconic brand and a mission, right, of providing life-saving support for children and families. And it plays and aligns right into what, my purpose and my mission is. And so it was an opportunity of a lifetime. I think I can almost say that it's been a dream job for me to go to this organization. And reputation management and PR, working with now global, right, organizations, it's really elevating me, and I'm learning so much from those around me while also bringing a certain value and also a cultural competence, that I can say, hey, I can only, imagine that this would become this story or that, and I can give some insight. And my boss continuously says, this is why I hired you. Okay. And it really validates so many things that I've questioned before about my own abilities. But this has been a transition that is challenged me, and I love that it's helping me to kind of raise my own standards, right, around strategy, not just always in a defense mode. And that's why I felt like I've been for the last couple of years defending, everything, every time we've been attacked. But not only am I working in a reputation role, but I'm also learning to really focus on how we shape our story and our strategy behind, how we share our story. So that's been great.
And you mentioned now you're in a capacity where you're working on global PR. What's the biggest difference with how they engage in stories with global PR?
Yeah, so you really have to learn a lot about culture and ethnicities, there are just so many opportunities to engage with a diverse population of people across the country, because we serve children from all over the world. We don't turn away anybody.
Nobody.
Right? And so you learn about those different cultures. You learn about audience. And I've always been audience driven. I think that was just innate for me, because Memphis and being a native here, I know what my fans and those who follow me, I know what they like. So I'm able to produce content that my audience is looking for. And so the organization that I'm with now, they're very audience driven. So whatever messages that we're putting out, we want to make sure that we understand the behaviors of the folks that we're telling stories to, and understand the needs of what they're looking for. And then there's a call to action. We can touch them, with the stories that we're telling about what it is that we do. And so the global aspect has been very interesting to just, connect with people all over the world when we're sending out, media releases or connecting with these national platforms. And not that I wasn't already doing it at the district. We had an opportunity to really tell our story during the pandemic, but that's one thing we talk a lot about in my new organization, how the pandemic really reminded us, right, that we're stronger together.
Yes.
When somebody's facing a health crisis, it's going to impact all of us. And until we come together as a world, as a nation, we can't get a lot done. And so the pandemic has really shown us that go outside of your little box, your little city, your little zip code, right, and connect with others.
And, you mentioned, what Memphis likes, right? Yes. Because you're giving us content on social media, and you did that the entire time through this fiasco. Was it hard to do that, still providing content throughout?
It was actually a strategy of mine, I'll say, because I couldn't address it right on, right? I couldn't just say what I wanted to say. I wanted people to understand that a lie and, gossip was not going to stop me from living my life. The same thing as I was going through a very difficult time with my ex. Every single day, I wasn't stopping the community engagement and the community service that I was doing, because whatever it is that you're going through, God wants you to still walk in it and count it all joy.
Okay.
Right? And so that was my message too throughout this situation. Count it all joy, because just because God is taking you through something, a storm, he's a rock that you're going to be able to lean on, and you can continue to live life. And I have to model for my own children and for those around me. And so I didn't ever want to come across as down and out and poor me, why me? I addressed it with myself. Why am I, so concerned about why this is happening to me? Why not? Right? You have a certain level of influence and popularity. So guess what? Your name gonna be brought into some stuff, but keep doing what you're supposed to be doing. And those who know you ultimately will continue to support you.
Yes, ma'am. Now, today is September 3rd. September 3rd, right? How did you spend 901 Day?
So we at my organization, we actually use it as a platform, a call to action to give. Of course. We were like, hey, it's 901 Day. So here's some $9.01 that you can give to our organization. Yeah, we had a big a party at work where we were just, pushing awareness. And then after work, we went downtown, and I was like, whoa, we out of here.
I was downtown too. At the FedEx Forum.
Yes, I got there and it was packed, and I was a little late because I had to take my daughter to cheer practice. Had to go all the way across town and come back, so I was there too late to get in. There was a lot going on. I had some connects that I could have called to get in, and I was like, they were like, come to the back. I was like, you know what, the crowd is out here.
The crowd.
I'm gonna just go sit and get something to eat. So we ended up just getting something to eat, but it was good to be downtown, you know, off Beale Street. The just the ambiance of the city. I love Memphis. And one thing I was gonna say on my social that I didn't say is for all of those who are constantly criticizing this city, always putting us down, always bringing up the negative. On 901 day, then y'all want to talk about, oh yeah, we love Memphis. Keep that same energy.
Keep that same energy.
You know, it's us who pulls each other down. When you go to Nashville, you don't turn on the news and immediately see crime. They're going to talk about, hey, we're a music city. So-and-so is in town. This is, this is what we're doing, tourism, this and that. But when you look at the media here in the city, it's just so disappointing to see how we just go so hard to talk about what's negative and violence.
Did that discourage you when you was an anchor?
Oh, I had plenty of conversations. When I got assignments in the newsroom, I was like, hey, I don't like this story. Can we change it? Can we put it further down in the newscast? I was always pushing up against, the status of how we reported. And I think they respected me for that, because if you're going to represent your community, right, it doesn't always, you don't have to criminalize Black and brown every time you turn on the TV. I hate that. And so again, 901 day was an opportunity, and is still an opportunity for us to elevate the great things that are happening in our city and to talk about the good and be the good. We can criticize all day, but what you doing?
Right.
How you helping to help the school system and politics and everything else that's going on in the community. So I just the call to action for me for the community is to do more and serve your community.
Yes, it was definitely a beautiful time downtown Memphis.
We were out there.
We were out there. And, while I was out there, I was in the crowd. Big Boogie was on the stage. Yes. Nobody was tripping. Nobody was fighting. Nobody was arguing. You didn't feel like you was about to get shot. I thought it was great because it was so many people from all parts of Memphis just having a good time. Yep. One last thing I want to talk about, and this is trending, Jerica Phillips, Serena the GOAT. Yes. Did you see the match last night?
I did not see the match. I saw the first night when she was solo, and then I missed because 901 day was when she did the doubles, right, with her sister. And then last night I missed it because I was out with a soror celebrating her birthday. So either way, she is definitely the GOAT.
She's the GOAT.
True to who she is. I remember I channeled my inner Serena at a Halloween soiree. Yes, I actually dressed.
Serena?
I dressed as Serena.
Okay. What did you wear?
I bought a little Nike dress and a headband so I can kind of give the look. But I felt like I really looked like I was going to play volleyball or something. We're both volleyball.
Did you do the eyebrows?
I didn't do the eyebrows. Okay. I had some braids, so that kind of worked out. But certainly Serena, in her authenticity, right, is what you can respect, because she's always been true to who she was, even though people criticize or just her look. You can, again, people get so caught up in surface, right? And her skill set was there from the beginning. People couldn't question that,
right? But
they were worried about what she had on, right? Because of her figure,
a distraction.
And so I just love that she's risen above that throughout her career. She is true to herself, and you can only respect, right, the excellence that she brings to the game.
Yes. I'm excited to see what's next for Serena. Since she's stepping away from tennis, not leaving tennis, but just stepping away to see what she got coming up.
She's got a lot of influence. I know she's done some endorsements and just her mentorship and things that she's done for young, Black and brown girls. So I hope she continues that in her transition, because it's hard to come out of doing what you've always done. Coming out of TV, I'm like, okay, I'm going to another, genre, but it's all kind of still familiar to me as far as public relations. But I hope that she sticks to something that she's passionate about. And if that's still athleticism or whatever, she still has so much, influence, and she could make a greater impact.
Yes, she does. Yes, she does. Well, while we wrap this up, Jerica, I truly appreciate you, Soror, for coming to the Verbally Effective podcast, just letting it out and giving, displaying your narrative and your truth today. Because we haven't heard from you. We've heard from you today. This exclusive Verbally Effective. Now, the last thing I want to ask you is any advice for anyone else out there that may be a public figure that may undergo some scrutiny about how to handle situation?
Yeah. I mean, number one, being true to yourself is just the most important thing, whether it's true or false, right? The narrative that people are putting out there, continue to do what you do best. And if that's being out with the people, stay out with the people. Don't isolate yourself. Don't feel as if, you can't go out because people are talking. Don't worry about that, The other thing that I would just encourage people to do would be to lean on those who love you, right? Because the hate feels so real and it's amplified when it's happening. It's like the loudest noise, but it's really not the majority. That's a minority most of the time when you're hearing negative and a lot of people
just
who
feels like
it feels like everybody, is against you sometimes, but certainly go and lean on those who love you and know you for who you are. And definitely lean on your faith.
All right. Well, you keep leaning on your faith. Count it all joy.
Count it all joy.
Sorora, and let the Verbally Effective audience know how they can continue to follow your journey.
Absolutely. You can follow me on social media. Usually it's just my name, Jerica Phillips. I think the only place where there's an underscore is on Twitter. So Jerica underscore Phillips. But all platforms, just Jerica Phillips. And of course, I want to shout out the Memphis Association of Black Journalists.
Okay.
I am now the VP of Marketing. So many great things. Follow our page, MABJ. Also, the Down Syndrome Association of Memphis. Definitely go and follow, see how you can support as far as the walk. And just really excited. Also a part of course, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. I'm on the executive board, and just excited about the service. We are going to greater heights of service and sisterhood. So,
all right.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Sora, for joining me today. Jerica Phillips, comms specialist, education advocate, former TV anchor. Them haters ain't stopping nothing today, okay? Okay, do you hear me? Thank you all for tuning in to Verbally Effective Podcast. Big shout outs to my sponsor, We Are Memphis. Big shout outs to Spotlight Productions, Ari the Genius, my producer. And if you're not subscribed to the podcast, do that now on all streaming platforms and subscribe to the Ina Esco YouTube channel as well. Thank you for tuning in.